to Patrick Gerland, who is the chief of the UN's Population Estimates and Projections section. Thanks so much for being with us. First, quickly, why do you think there is this discrepancy in numbers here between the UN forecast and this Lancet study?
The main differences are between two groups of countries, and they are mostly happening in the second half of the century between these results and what in the UN we have projected. For countries with today a higher number of children, the Lancet study anticipates a faster decline than what the UN has currently expected. And for countries with a small number of children per woman, this study also expects a much long-term stagnation and lower number of children for each of the families than what in the UN we have been assuming. So these two different assumptions lead to these differences within 2 to 3 generations in the future.
Okay, let me ask you though, I mean, regardless of the study here, we're talking about declining numbers. Do you think that's good for the planet? And that in itself outweighs, the problems we might have supporting perhaps an aging population, for example?
What's important to keep in mind is that all the studies, including this study, expects the population of all the regions of the world to continue to increase at least up to the mid of the century, at least up to the mid-2050, 2060. Everyone, there is a consensus that the different countries need to plan ahead for continuous increase. And then where there are eventually differences is about what's happening in the second half of the century about those situations. And in that context, whether there is a certain number of people or not has implication in respect to eventually the pressure on the different, let's say, on the planet in terms of farming land, in terms of living conditions. But the history of the world has been quite often to adapt to these changes and to improve living standard, even when some of these changes are happening. So one of the major implications will be for many countries to deal with the aging population, and especially the care and the health and eventually the service provision and pensions and so on of the elderly that are expected to happen across the world in the second half of the century.
Right. I mean, and as for that aging population, in order to support an aging population, you also need some wealth creation. And the problem is the job market is not increasing at the same rate as population growth. Are we going to be able to address that problem as a global society? Because many societies are saying they're counting on a younger population to take care of this aging population, but that younger population can't if they don't have the job market.
Well, when it comes to the job market, as it's currently happening, you have different situations. You have a certain type of skills where there are job opportunities and job demand, and then you have also more and more robotics and automation involved that requires more and more skills. And it's this combination of two factors that many countries needs to deal with to be able to be successful in the future and provide both economic opportunities for the population of their country, and eventually, under certain situations, eventually also with well-managed migrations, eventually be able, for some countries who are facing certain shortage, to be able also to have eventually some foreign workers to help to mitigate some of this shortage, at least for some periods of time. So it's a mix of different factors that can easily be needed across different countries, different regions, in different periods.
Patrick Gerland, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.